Okay, imagine this. It's the summer of 1980s. You've made mistakes. Not small mistakes like putting pineapple on pizza. I mean big life-altering mistakes. The kind of mistakes that don't make you lose sleep, they make you question the very concept of sleep. Your wife is sick, your marriage is falling apart, and your way of dealing with it is running away to become a fire lookout in the middle of nowhere. And that is Firewatch. It's one of those games that sticks with you not because of epic boss fights or open world chaos, but because it feels like a quiet punch to the gut, like you've been emotionally mugged by a forest. And man, do they not make games like this anymore. Sure, narrative indie games still exist, but Firewatch, it was a lightning in a bottle. And if you're thinking, okay, but nothing really ever happens in Firewatch, is it? It's a walking simulator, right? I'm here to ruin your day by explaining exactly why something very much does happen. Just not the way you expect. We humans, no matter how different we are, no matter how weird breakfast choices we make, have one thing in common. Stories. Whether it's cave paintings, hymns, bedtime storybooks, movies, games, or just that one guy at work who overshares about his relationship, we connect through stories. Who we are, where we come from, what makes us laugh, what makes us cry. Deep down, each one of us wants to leave behind a story that says, yes, I was here. But Firewatch isn't one of those inspirational life stories. It's not about triumph. It's not even about finding yourself in a shiny, Instagrammable way. Sometimes, life just sucks. It's too heavy. The rules of morality start bending under the weight, and your choices narrow down to either running away from it or ending it. Thankfully, Hank, our main guy, chooses to run, and in that decision lies the quiet brilliance of Firewatch. Because this isn't really a game about fire or watching. It's about people. People we become when we are hiding from ourselves. The game starts with you moving to Shoshone National Forest in Wyoming. You've got a watchtower, a map, a radio, and a boss named Delilah who you have never met in person. Your job? Look for smoke, keep people safe, that's it. Except not really, because every day you're talking to Delilah over that radio, and through those conversations, you slowly learn you're not the only one hiding out here. There's a loneliness in Firewatch that's so thick you could spread it on a toast. It's in the quiet between radio call. It's in the way the light shifts as the sun sets. It's in the moments where nothing's happening, which ironically is also when everything is happening just inside your head. And just when you think the game is a slow forest vacation, it throws you a curveball. A missing person, a shadowy figure watching you, and suddenly your personal escape starts to feel like a trap. And more so than the ending, which everyone else wants to talk about, I actually want to talk about these two characters, Hank and Delilah. Because as a psychology graduate, what really interests me more is the humanistic side of things. And the story of Firewatch has done an exceptionally well job when it comes to showing their humanity. Hank isn't some hero. He's not saving the world. He's just a man whose life is broken in ways he can't fix. His wife Julia has early onset dementia. She doesn't even remember him sometimes. The person he loves most is slipping away before his eyes, and Hank doesn't have the strength to watch. So he takes a summer job, hoping the silence will drown out the noise in his head. I don't know about you ladies, but men sometimes, or maybe even often, do have the thought about just going old school nomad out in the wilderness. It's one thing to continue to run in the rat race. It's a whole another ball game to get out of it. And life itself doesn't really make it easy to do either of it. For Hank, caring for Julia has put him in what psychologists call ambiguous loss, mourning someone who's still alive. It's a kind of grief where guilt and longing for escape coexist. His choice to take his job as a fire lookout isn't random. It's a textbook example of avoidance coping. Instead of facing the unbearable situation head-on, he physically removes himself from it. But the roots of that avoidance started even earlier, in the small escapes, nights at the bar moments, where he could forget reality for a while. The thing about avoidance is that it feels like a relief in the short term, but it leaves the core wound untreated. It's like sweeping dust under a carpet. Eventually, the pile actually grows big enough that it starts spilling out. Hank's isolation mirrors what many people do when they're overwhelmed. They bury themselves in work, hobbies, or literal distance. And just like mold in a house, those problems only spread if you don't face them. Now, there's also something I want to push back on. Those YouTube takes claiming Hank avoided his duty by taking the lookout job are missing the point. Caregiving for someone with a degenerative condition is incredibly difficult. Showing Hank struggling with emotional weight, looking forward to night outs, choosing temporary solitude isn't evidence of moral failure or avoidance of duty. It's evidence of his humanity. In fact, I'd argue the opposite. If Hank hadn't been struggling and still chose to disappear into the forest, that would be true avoidance of responsibility. For now, he would have no reason to avoid the duty, but he still chooses to do so. But instead, the game shows us that Hank is a man who has been pushed to his limit, still capable of commitment once he's decided on a course of action, but life has just took a toll out of him. And that, in my opinion, is not avoidance but struggle with acceptance. And Hank keeps by her right until her parents take her away. If one needs to criticize Hank, they can criticize how he didn't ask for help in taking care of Julia, either from his own family members like his sister or someone from Julia's side. What you can't criticize is by saying he avoided his duty. Even the game itself points it out when you find Ned's report, where he states Hank is a reliable guy. So yeah, those takes about Hank, well, they can go f themselves. Psychologically, he's in flight mode, literally and figuratively. Now, as a contrast to Hank, we have Delilah. Witty, charming, and just as good at running away as Hank. She just does it with a bit more panache. She hides behind jokes, flirtation, and selective honesty, or what I like to call half-truths. Together, their conversation becomes this strange therapy session where both people keep sidestepping the actual point. And the more you listen to them, the more you realize something. You're not watching a love story. You're watching two lonely people trying to survive the summer without drowning in their own lives. She is Hank's supervisor, his only real human connection in the wilderness, and she exists entirely as a voice on the other end of a walkie-talkie. Here's where the psychology kicks in. She's Hank's mirror image in isolation, but in her case, Hank becomes her lifeline too. The fact that you never see her makes every interaction more intimate but also less accountable. Her humor and flirtation aren't just personality quirks. They are a armor, hiding failed relationships, bad decisions, and her own avoidance patterns. Delilah is also judgmental. She is quick to make assumptions, like her snap decision that Ned is a bad father. She does soften her stance if someone gets close enough, but her first instinct is to draw conclusions fast. That's the opposite of Hank's slower, more reserved approach. She specially uses sarcasm as a defense mechanism and often engages in reaction formation, expressing the opposite of what she really feels in order to stay in control. In fact, Firewatch's writing about these characters goes more in depth with showing you the contrast between Hank and Delilah. While they are in a similar situation, aka being in the forest, the way they deal is completely opposite. Look at her story about her ex, Javier.
Out of town, drank whiskey in the mountains, cut loose. Then, Javier's brother got killed working in Gillette, and for some reason, I didn't come home. Javier said it was fine, he'd go to the funeral, take care of his mom, stuff like that, it'd be easier solo. When he came back, he left me. I came out here, I lied, and told my sister he fucked our neighbor. So, I lied to you. I came out here with a broken heart just like you.
She admits she didn't attend Javier's brother's funeral, even knowing it was the wrong thing to do, but instead of taking accountability, she lied to her sister about Javier sleeping with the neighbor as a reason for breakup. And when the time comes to meet Hank in person at the end, she bails. All of this paints a picture. Delilah sticks around when things are fun, but when the thorns show, she runs. That's not just a commitment issue. It's avoidance of duty in relationship. Delilah's relationship with Hank over the radio is like emotional Tinder. Get the highs, the banter, the maybe this could be something energy, but without the real life mess. And here's the genius of Firewatch. The game lets you project whatever you want onto them. Do you think they're soulmates? You'll find hints for that. Do you think they're just two lonely people killing time? You'll find that too. But regardless of which character is good, bad, etc., one thing that objectively can be agreed upon is that both characters are deeply flawed, but they are written so authentically that most of the players can recall meeting people just like them in real life. Their contrasts make their conversations engaging, while the small shared similarities give us something to relate to, the glue that keeps us invested. And for that, it is their conversations that I found the most intriguing throughout the game, more so than the ending. Now wait, before I talk about the ending, let me also talk about the third character, the Wyoming wilderness itself. I'm pretty sure this wasn't intended, but it's not just scenic backdrops, it's a metaphor for Hank's inner world. Wide open landscapes that still somehow feel confining. Dense forests where you can get lost even when you know the way. You can see for miles but still feel like you're going in circles. In environmental psychology, this is called liminality, being an in-between state. Hank isn't home, but he's not truly free either. Every trail is beautiful, but eventually you find yourself looping back to where you started, just like unresolved problems. And this as a whole is a metaphor for the game's ultimate point. Not everything has a solution. Not everything has an answer. Sometimes, and in my experience most often, no solution, no answer is an answer in and of itself to life's problems. Sometimes the apple falls to the ground not because of gravity, but simply because that is what makes life interesting. Now, moving on to the ending. If you ever had a what-if relationship in your life, the one that never got a real ending, then Firewatch might just hit you harder than you expect. I have two perspectives on Firewatch's ending. When I first played it in 2017, fresh out of school heading into college, I thought, man, I wish I got to see Delilah. I didn't feel betrayed, I just wanted more. Because that's youth for you. You think every connection should be a grand adventure. You think the meetup is the point. But replaying it now in my mid-20s, I have a different perspective for the ending. Because it's not about running away. It's about coming back. The younger me would have loved a fairy tale moment. The current me really doesn't want a different ending. It ends exactly how it should. Awkwardly. It not only ends with unanswered questions, but also ends with you walking away. Because staying might make things worse. Does Hank deserve to be happy? Yes. But his happiness won't come from escaping into the forest. It will come from facing what he left behind. And for Delilah, maybe she needs to learn that sadness isn't something you can joke your way out of. More often than not, life is more thorns than roses. And she needs to learn to live with both the peaks and the valley moments of the life. And it might sound cliche, but it's not the ending you want, it's the ending you need. And that, my friends, is why Firewatch still haunts me 8 or 9 years down the line. Just ask yourself the question, if the ending was different, do you think the game would actually be talked about a bit more? No. I do wish there were more games like Firewatch, but here's the harsh truth. Games like Firewatch are hard to sell, especially in the current environment. You can't put Hank emotionally processing his grief onto a poster next to Call of Duty and expect it to sell millions. But that's exactly why it is special. It's intimate, it's risky, it's the kind of game that trusts you to care without dangling shiny rewards in your face every 5 minutes. Today, most games have to fight for your attention like over-caffeinated street performers. Firewatch just sits next to you, tells you a story, and leaves you to think about it for the rest of your life. And that is all. If you made it to this point, well, thank you for watching and I hope you liked it. And if you did like it, maybe leave a like and give me a sub. I really appreciate it. It also helps my channel a lot. And yeah, adios.